It took me 10 years to get started on YouTube. I was always looking for the perfect plan and the perfect time to get started, but nothing really happened until I found a framework that worked for me and allowed me to make steps forward. My name's Sam. I share frameworks, ideas, and the process around creating a one person business. And today we're going to share the framework that allowed me to get started on my YouTube journey. So here's where I think the problem starts, and I think it begins with how we're educated, particularly here in the UK. The educational system here in the UK is designed for you to find the correct answer to questions. So, circle A, B, C, or D. You hand in your mark, you get your grade. They tell you if you're clever or not. It's essentially how it works. When you want to start something creative or you want to start a business or a YouTube channel, for example, this kind of thinking, trying to get that perfect answer, just leaves you stuck, leaves you frustrated, it leaves you overwhelmed because how can you possibly work out the answer to an impossible question like what business should you start? There's just no way to really know. And I spent years looping through different plans and ideas and brainstorming, trying to think of the perfect answer to this question, which was how can I start a business? And ultimately, it didn't work. So here is the framework that helped me with this problem and helped me to get started. And it is based upon the archaeologist versus the architect. So I'm going to run through both. So the architect plans everything in advance, builds to specification, waits to feel ready, tries to get it right before starting. This can work well if you already have connections, leads, or a solid business plan. But if you're starting from scratch, this can ultimately lead to you never getting started due to the overwhelm and the stress and pressure that you feel to get it right. So, what's the archaeologist? The archaeologist starts digging, explores ideas in public, shares curiosity and lessons, lets the audience form around what they create, and the plan emerges through action. Both of these approaches do work. If you're starting from afresh with something brand new, the archaeologist approach does take away the pressure a bit. It allows you to experiment with new ideas. It allows you to freely navigate your interests, and it also allows you to share the process with your audience, gaining trust. And there isn't that pressure to sell up front either. And this again will build trust with your audience. The way that social media algorithms are working now is it's less important now to have big audiences, and ultimately good content will allow you to find your audience. So if clarity comes from taking action, then how do we start to take action? We don't need to create a 5 year plan to get started. We just need some small experiments that seem manageable for us to take that first step. And you don't have to take lots of different steps. You don't have to try different things. It's just about starting with one, and then from there, you can deviate. So here's a list of some small experiments you can run that feel manageable. Creating a pre order page for a product or service and seeing if anyone is interested. Writing a thread or post to test resonance. Sharing an unfinished idea with someone you trust or posting it publicly. Making a rough draft landing page or offer and seeing who's interested. Time boxing a 2 to 3 hour build session to make a small prototype. If it takes longer, then it's too big for your first dig. DMing or emailing 3 people who run small businesses or freelance and asking them what problems they need solving. None of this needs to feel like launching. It just needs to start with some digging, some different experiments. And then the important step after this is to reflect on how it felt for you and what resonated with you and your ideas. When you are able to start these small experiments, there's a chance that it might not work out as you had expected, or you might not get the result that you were hoping for. If that is the case, I would encourage you try not to get too disheartened. If we're able to embody this archaeologist approach and really take it on board, then these small adjustments that we make after we run into, let's say, hard concrete, what are really important in this route, this mindset, is that we're able to then iterate and move on to the next idea. And ultimately, that will lead us towards what we're looking for. So ultimately, the quicker we make these mistakes, the quicker we can deviate, the more likely we are, and the quicker we'll be able to find the route that we're looking for. So try to keep that in mind. After you've run a small experiment, it's really important to then reflect upon what happened. We want to understand what was the results of our experiment, how did it feel? So I would encourage you to think about a few questions. So after each small dig, ask yourself, how did it actually feel to do this? Did it energize me? Did it interest me? What was the response like from other people? Encouraging, excited? Did anyone respond at all? What surprised me about what happened? What questions do I have now? And most importantly, do I want to keep digging here, or do I want to try something new? Maybe a small deviation. Clarity comes from this experimentation and not planning for 10 years, trust me. So, 10 years of planning, trying to come up with the perfect idea, didn't quite work for me. And if you feel like you're stuck in a rut, trying to think of new ideas and trying to land on the perfect idea, it might be this is your sign to pick an idea and run with it. Run some mini experiments, something manageable, something that isn't overwhelming, and give it a try. Ultimately, that first idea, that first project, probably isn't going to be your most successful one, but it might be your most important one. So try and get started if you can. Hopefully, this has been helpful today, sharing my experience a little bit and kind of laying it out in this framework. I'm going to be talking about these sorts of things each week through my newsletter and also on YouTube. If you could subscribe, that would be incredible. If not, I'll see you in the next one. Thank you.